Welcome to Crossroads Podcast, an SIBKL production.
Welcome back to another episode of Crossroads. In this episode, we have invited young adults, campus students, and youth to come together to agree or disagree on various statements about their generation.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Question 1. My generation sees faith as a personal journey rather than a communal experience.
Personal journey rather than a communal journey.
I think for me, it is a personal journey, and being a core leader, I've also brought this upon my CG members. Whereas growing in faith is not the community or your CG grows together. It's more of you grow individually in your own walk.
I think I agree with what Jeremy's saying. When it boils down to it, it's not you don't enter into a relationship with God together with people. It's a personal thing, and it's a personal conviction. As much as you need people around you to spur you on, when it boils down to it, it's your own conviction and your own journey. Yeah, no one can have that faith for you. It's your own faith. Yeah, that's kind of why I'm here.
Can I add on to that? I think also because sometimes we are also very focused on ourselves. And so sometimes we just think about our faith and our journey, and we're not really thinking about the person next to us and what they're going through. But it's really more about me sometimes. So I get caught in that trap a lot. So hence why, I think it's sometimes very personal.
I feel like, I agree with you guys. Faith, it's your own journey that you're walking on. But I also believe that having that community is so important, which is why we're all in these different ministries, which is why we have cell groups, why we have CGs and all. So I do agree that yes, faith is definitely a journey that you go on with yourself, your own relationship with God. I do believe that having that community there to just be with you, to help you go through it, really helps you to work on your faith. Because if you're surrounded by a group of people who are who love God, who fear God, then it will propel you to want to be more like them and want to love God more.
Yeah.
I think I like the point that everyone brings, especially how people that love Jesus and people that love Jesus, iron sharpens iron lah. But I still think that is mostly depending on your personal journey. If one side is not putting any effort, but you're still going to people that love Jesus, it will definitely influence the person. But it depends on how you want to open yourself to the concept of whatever that you believe in. Yeah.
Question number 2. Working with people from my generation is easier than working with those from other generations.
Yeah, I feel maybe because we're younger, easier to adapt to different people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but I feel even now we're here, right? It's very easy to talk to you guys, really easy to express our opinions. And maybe it can differ from people, person to person. But I feel as long as we all have the same goal in mind and we all have that intention and will to do it, then I feel it's really easy to work with anyone regardless of age.
I mean, I agree, but I don't agree with the regarding to age, because I feel in some extent, what I may not understand, they will understand more. Whereas what I may not understand, Annabelle may also not understand. Then we will meet at Crossroads. Then we have to go to the great website of Google and ChatGPT. And that's not going to be very helpful. Whereas there are people who have already gone through it and already done the work. So I can just ask them for help instead of trying to ram through that wall myself.
Well, I agree that the older, I won't say older generation, but the young adult generation, they have a lot of wisdom and they have been through all of these things that maybe for some of us younger generation haven't gone through. But I think sometimes there is just that generational gap that we couldn't quite understand each other. And yeah, sometimes they spark some resentment or anything. It's like I'm trying to tell you this, but you're not listening to me. You know, maybe this will be better for my generation, but they have their own thinking as well. So not to judge them or anything, but yeah, that's my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's the same for me, because I don't only mean younger, but I mean older as well. So when I work with people who are older than me, sometimes it's a bit of a struggle because they're so set in their ways, right? And it's tough sometimes to get them to change. Whereas when you work with younger people, yes, you're right. You're more agile, you're more flexible, but also because you come in as a blank slate sometimes. So it's the experience that you need to gain as well. So that takes time and that takes effort. So hence why I'm in this box, because you ask me easiest, right, to work with, it will be someone with the same level of experience.
I think for me, I think to just build upon like what the other said, right? It's a very, I think it's coming to understand that once you realize that every generation has their own sort of culture, sort of way that they do things, then I think it naturally becomes a lot easier to work with them, because I think sometimes a lot of times when we have struggles working with different kind of people, I think it's because we don't really see their point of perspective, or like their workload, or like their priorities in life. And I think that's one of like the main issues why we struggle to work with people of different generations. Not just that lah. I think even working with people of like the same age, the same sort of group, that can happen as well. So I don't really think like, maybe not so much of a generational thing, but I think it's always understanding each other's cultures, and I think when understanding that, then you can sort of process a lot of things better, work together better as well. Yeah.
Question number 3. Older individuals have more wisdom and should make key decisions.
Well, I'm neutral because I know that they have the wisdom and knowledge, but I also think that there isn't a right way to do things. There's always two sides of the story and different option, and I think we just need to basically combine our generations all together and just do the best for Jesus. Yeah.
Ooh, amen.
I'm just going to do a simple example. The lights that I work on for Narrowstreet. Upon talking to YA or even the main sang people, they do not agree on how I do it because I have strobing, it looks flashing, it's very bright, very loud. And if it was based on someone from YA, I would know for a fact they personally would not want that. Because I've heard YA people tell me that, wow, this is a lot. So, and among this, one of my friends also interned at a law firm recently, and they were deciding music for their party at the end. Now, the older folk decided on a song called The Eye of the Tiger. Okay? Well, my friend personally does not agree with that music taste. They were mocked, being asked if they listened to Espresso by Sabrina Carpenter. So that's just what I'm standing is because that seemed pretty key decision, right? Music for a party, lighting for a conference. It's pretty big. And their ideas may not follow what I personally would agree with.
I agree with that. Not just like personally what I agree, but what fits the situation, right? Like in my school, right, there's a lot of my principal is quite old, he's retiring this year. So and then he's always trying to like do all these things, right? And then sometimes I'm like, this is not what the people want, right? I'm looking at him, and then he's like, no, but it sounds fun, because he has a British accent, right? It sounds fun. I'm like, okay. So I feel like it really comes down to like how well they understand the circumstance, right? And also like, I feel like when you say that, older people are wiser, they should make key decisions, aren't you like saying that, younger people aren't that smart, younger people shouldn't be making that decision? Because the Bible legit says, don't underestimate yourself just because of your age, right? So I feel that like, especially in a church setting, that we should really like, whoever makes decision is whoever can like, who best understands the circumstance regardless of age lah. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, let's hear from the young adults. Please redeem yourself.
I'm a young adult.
I find it interesting that the youth's context of key decisions revolve around things that involve them, right? But I think in a broader sense of the broader sense of decisions, key decisions, for example, when you talk about running of the church, for example, it's very difficult to say youths can have a say to a certain extent because there's a lot of things that have not been experienced. I would hesitate to say I would be glad to be part of the running of the church, for example, because I don't have the experience or the knowledge or, for me, I think when you talk about key decisions, that's key decisions. But to a certain extent, I also agree with them where if the youth is running their service, it is a key decision by the adults to let them run their service to a certain extent, and to give them autonomy. So I think I'm not there. I'm here because I believe that with experience comes wisdom, but with the wisdom also you shouldn't ignore what the younger generation is saying. That makes sense. Yeah. So that's why I'm here, not there. Yeah.
Yeah. So with the wisdom that we have as older, slightly older, we're not supposed to lord it over everyone else, right? But it's really like what you said just now, collaborating, because hearing your opinion is so valuable because what you think, what you feel, what people want to. People of your age want. People of your age, what do they want? Yeah. And so it's very important that we cater to everyone, right? But I know sometimes what happens is that it's very easy for older people to say, hey, my way or the highway, right? I think that's what our parents do sometimes, right? But I think we don't have to be like our parents. And that's why I'm also in the box with the other young adult. Yeah. So
just to add, right? I'm here because not saying that I'm the one that should make the decisions now. We are here because we believe that we defer to the older generation to make the key decisions. Not that we say we should be the ones making the decisions. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Question 4. My generation has it harder than the other generations.
I believe that we all have different challenges that we go through in our generations. Like, for example, in my parents' time, we didn't struggle with like technology or like, let's say cyberbullying. But in our generation now, that's very prominent, and that's really something that is really like harmful to us lah. So I feel that to say my generation has it harder than yours is not incorrect, but I feel that we each have our own different struggles in our generations, and that saying that, oh, I'm having it harder than you is just like, it's not like understanding the struggles that the other person went through as well. So I believe that, yes, well, let's say, in my grandparents' time, they were farmers and all, right? And obviously, I'm not a farmer now, right? But I have like a school and a lot of stuff, things that they didn't go through back then. So I feel that it's just really, we're all going through different challenges in our generation now. Yeah.
Okay, good. Let's hear it from Reddit.
I disagree. I think Annabelle has already elaborated on the fact that we all believe that, I agree with her, I believe that every generation has a different challenge. But if you really want to compare, right, the generation that has it worse is the generation that went through wars and went through, like how can we compare in our, I don't know, middle, upper class kind of life compared to people who had to go through poverty, had to fight through, So I think that's that. I think there's a bit of awareness of that. But I also do kind of worry over the next generations, over the challenges that's going to be faced, because I strive to want to understand what the next generation's difficulties are, instead of saying like, oh, my generation has it harder than you. It's more of the position, coming from the position of how can I understand what the next generation's difficulties are, as different as they are from where I come from. Yeah. So that's why I'm here.
Let's hear it from the strongly agree, or rather like the agree side. Somewhat agree.
Okay. For me, I think it's really, I don't think that, my generation is completely having it harder than everybody else. Oh, poor me, right? It's not that. But it's really, if we talk about harder in a sense that of the life, I'm only comparing to younger, right? I didn't think about older. Yeah. But when you talk about those who are younger, you guys got a lot more. Let's talk about school. Like, you know, you guys have aircon in school. We didn't have aircon in school. Most of you guys go to private schools or international schools, and you know, or Chinese schools, which are quite nice also. You know, and then a lot of things that you guys have access to, right? A lot of facilities, things that you get to do. It was very different, right? I almost sounded like Brandon now, like way back. Because, you know, we had to work hard for a lot of things, which in hindsight, it leads to a blessing for the next generation. Because you guys don't have to work so hard, but of course that leads to other struggles, other difficulties, right? I'm not denying that, but just that it's different. It's different struggles. So we had to work harder, but you guys definitely have it hard as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No Google and everything last time for assignments.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
yeah.
There's no ChatGPT. What?
Can you imagine?
I think it's very difficult to sort of like put it on like there's like no measure of what is more difficult than the other. I think hearing from everybody, it's always the perspective of it's never the perspective of like thinking of the generation above you, like they have had it so much easier, or like it's never like I say, like for me as like a campus student, right, I wouldn't see like kids and I'll think, oh my gosh, they have it so much harder than me. Like it's very rare, or rather near never never happens that you actually think of the generation that comes before, like after you, to have it harder than you do, because naturally that's what we always end up. I think that's just a very human characteristic, that you always think that you've gone through a lot, but I think that just comes with experience.
Yeah.
That's why you think that you have it a lot harder. So I think I'm standing on neutral, because I don't really believe that there is a sort of who has it harder or not. I think again, each person, like just building upon whatever they said already, each person has their own sort of struggle. You would never really be able to see, and even then it's like each person takes a struggle differently. Somebody sees something and it's very easy, but like for all you know, Gen Z could be in war, and like we could like be like super strategic and all that, but yeah, so like it's not really, you can't really say that lah. So I think yeah, there's not really a difference. I think it's just different people experiencing different things as well.
Yeah.
Question number 5. People from my generation are more reliable in team settings than those from other generations.
Wait, this is disagree, right?
Disagree.
No, I kind of agree.
I'm tripping
Kinda
up over
agree.
the science, bro.
My bad. Yeah. Because I was thinking about it, like in group project and stuff, right? There's always, for my generation, I don't know if I can speak for everyone, but for my generation, it feels like someone always need to carry more workload than the others. Yeah, it's like some they will put in effort, but they wouldn't put in like, I'll say like 80%. I feel like it's mostly like it's 40%, but there's always that leader to lead us. And we are that generation that needs a lot of nudging, yeah, like to push us to that 80%. So I really disagree that my generation is, yeah, we just need more support, I guess.
So disagree, is this like...
Oh, no, yeah, no, I agree. I agree. Sorry.
People from my generation are more reliable.
Oh, yeah. Oh, reliable?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad, bro.
Great team members.
Oh, let me go back, bro. Yeah, sorry. My bad.
I feel, yeah, like what he said, every generation has unreliable people. Like, really, my generation, I know a lot of unreliable people. My mom, she always complains, at her work, yeah. And then like my grandma also, I've heard a lot from her as well. So I just feel like, every generation has unreliable people. So yeah.
Back on that, it's unreliable people, because it takes something very simple. Punctuality. Being on here at 7:30 on the dot, okay? Okay? As you can see from the responses, not everyone here was here at 7:30, okay? And cross generations, doesn't matter, YA, CC, Narrowstreet, even some of the crew members. No, I'm not saying that everyone was here at 7:30. Well, no matter what, worship practice, VS practice, hype also I've seen, even huddles, no one is, across any generation I've seen, no one is ever on time altogether. Not everybody will be on time. And that is okay, because that's human nature. Sometimes things happen. Traffic jam, maybe you need to get food, maybe there's a car accident. You cannot control what happens on the road or what happens on your way here. So it's just things that happen.
Why am I standing here? Because if you've ever been in a group that is a combination of YAs, campus, and youth, you will know that YAs will just stand there like this.
Oh, YA, how could you guys? How could
So
you?
it's really the young people who will be like, yeah, let's go, I got this idea, let's go, I'll go do this. And the YA will be like, yeah, you go ahead. So, that's why we need, across generations. And yes, I do feel that they have the energy, to be reliable as well. So we just need to empower them, and that's what we do as the older generation. And they will really just run with it. And that's what I love about it. That's why I'm here.
I don't have the opportunity of working with younger generation as much as Cass. Maybe I should. Me standing here is more of from a very work-like context where it's people across different ages up to older. And I think based on what Jeremy and Annabelle have both said, unreliability is across the board. Yeah. Right? Like there's no like, only a certain age is unreliable, or and so on and so forth lah. So that's kind of where I'm at. But it sounds like I need to work with the younger generation, especially in SIBKL, more to change my opinion lah, to go there instead. Yeah.
I think to most people, reliability seems like whether you can get the work done or whether you complete the task lah. Yeah. But I think sometimes, like, is it intergenerational, right? It can look different. So sometimes, like, I'm relying on you on something, but actually, like what you're going to provide for me might not meet my expectations. Yeah. And I think that's okay. I cannot really speak for like my generation thing. I think like you all said, across the board, everybody has unreliable and reliable people. Yeah. It's not really a generational thing, I don't think. But I think what we can expect from different generations in a sense is that there will be different expectations. I will expect the Narrowstreet people to have more energy to do more things. I expect the YAs to have not to say less energy, but I think generally they have more different priorities lah. And I think in the sense that sometimes the things that I would expect of them will be different, and I can rely on them on different things as well. Different things from what I would rely on the Narrowstreeters for or campus people for. Yeah.
That's it for this episode. Let us know what you think. Do you agree or disagree with any of the generations? Comment down below.
Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe for more Crossroads content. Look forward to new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. If you need to speak to a pastor or if you're looking for a church to call home, come visit SIBKL.